Meeting will come to order. We're now holding a meeting of Upper Island Township Board of Commissioners on February 5, 2025. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please join me for a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Walton.
Present.
Commissioner Baker.
Present.
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 Commissioner Martin.
Present. I might add that this meeting will be live streamed for those who wish to attend virtually. A recording of the meeting will also be available after if anyone can't join in real time, you can listen to it after the later date. We had the minutes of January 8th with our information packet. Are there any questions, additions, or corrections?
I do have one correction.
Is that on? Are you on?
Nice.
Thank you. Much better. Yeah, I do have a correction in the minutes down under administration when there was some discussion about the filling of the vacancy. I misspoke in apparently making a statement that individual candidates could be considered in executive session. That's not the case. Any consideration or deliberation regarding the candidates for the vacant spot have to be in public session, as we've been doing. And at the time I was thinking just about receiving information, but without deliberation, and that really doesn't necessarily follow. So that should be corrected.
Okay, we can strike that reference to executive session, correct that. So Alexis, you got that note? Okay. Thank you, Steve. Any other discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Martin, I have a
Yes.
couple corrections or suggestion. This is under the Bishop Bridge discussion starting.
What page are you on?
I guess
please?
starting on page 6.
Okay.
First one would be the spelling of Janice Link's name. It's actually Lynk or NX. And the address of the Historic Society is 939 Cransel Drive. I think that's Kranzel. And then during that discussion on page 6, I had asked that two of the posts I had posted on Save Upper Allen be included in the record. And those posts were a plea for Bishop Bridge dated January 7th and further information on Bishop Bridge dated January 7th. And they're not attached to the minutes. I see Alexis has a footnote, just says one referencing Save Upper Allen, but I was hoping to see that attached to the minutes.
I was told to just put the website.
Yeah, Alexis, we had a very brief discussion on this, but put a link in because of the number of documents. It was not lending itself to incorporating it into the minutes.
Well, that's why I, gave her a clean copy. It's just that you can visually, have a record, not that you have to tap on it. I didn't want anything to be that you could link to per se, an active link. It's just printed material. That's kind of the historic record and the argument and documentation for the bridge.
Yeah, well, certainly the board can take action to include it in the minutes if it feels appropriate. I was just concerned that there were too many to put it in the minutes per se, but with the referencing, the person would still be able to access the documents.
Right. Without clicking on it. I think it was like 6 pages total, but it did condense the argument.
I understand your thing because there's a lot of information on that page. And if we wanted to reference all of it, then it would become quite voluminous. But the document that Mr. Fairchild gave you is no more than 6 pages. Yeah, and so it's just that document that you want
Right.
to incorporate. I'm okay with that if the rest of the board is.
Thank you.
Rick, are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, so then, but just that document, link that to, and then you can take the reference off of in the minutes to save up around, take that off.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay, great. Any other items? If not, then we have 2 corrections or correction and addition. All in favor as amended, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Might mention that this year is the 275th anniversary of Cumberland County, so they beat us by 100 years. And they did have a kickoff on January 27 out at by the courthouse, and so I attended that, and it was awfully cold, but it was a fun event, and maybe we can pick up a couple of ideas even for our own celebration, which will be in warm weather as we celebrate the 175th. I don't believe there's any visitors registered on the log that wish to speak on an item that's not on the agenda. If I'm incorrect, please indicate. All right, then we will move forward to the consent agenda, which is the payment of bills in the amount of $239,836.56. Are there any questions or comments?
I had a question about one item of the bills, which was the purchase of salt. And I guess we replenish our supply as we go along. But there were, I guess, 3 purchases, and it showed totaling $16,992. Is that what we do, Scott? We replenish as we go along?
Yes.
And it was showing tonnage like 94 ton, 88 ton, 48 ton. And I'm aware usually a tractor trailer load would be like 20 ton. And I didn't know if we were like not getting full loads or how that decision, or is it dependent on how much storage capacity we have at the time?
We order by the truckload. The trucks are weighed at the service center and they give us a ticket. And then whatever the ticket says is what their weight is. So some of the trucks are full a little more than others, and that's what it averages out to be, or that's what we pay. We pay the exact amount that we receive.
So if I see like 94 tons, that's probably like 5 loads. And
Yeah, if you give me the questions beforehand, I will have those available for you. I don't know how many
right, it's
truckloads that
just
is.
more generalized, just how you do it. And
No, I don't know without being able to look into it.
okay. And then I noticed there's a new category, like there's a further line item column for description that wasn't there before. And I don't know if that helps us or just kind of makes things a little harder to read.
I'm sorry, what are you referencing?
On the bills, I think it reads line item and then item description. It's like the first and third column.
I see the GL number, the invoice, the vendor, then an
Yeah.
invoice description. Is that what you're
Yeah,
referencing?
invoice description is like a new column.
I think that's just to give more detail with respect to the expenditure.
Yeah, if you look at it, it just kind of duplicates what's already in first or the second column, which says invoice line description. And you did add like check numbers, or somebody added that, which I think is helpful. But I just don't know if we gain anything. I'm just throwing it out there. Everybody,
Well,
to look through it, but
I might suggest that it's certainly more information doesn't hurt. There's one where you go with the boot expenditure. Well, it indicates super shoes. It was for boot allowance. So that's probably for either public improvements or the police. Things like auto supply things, brake cleaners or driver's seat, battery. I mean, I certainly don't think that additional information hurts anything.
okay, you do see the duplications, right? You should go
No,
through it.
because the vendor isn't always the same as the description.
Well, and I bet 80% of the cases here, it's a duplication of the language, but
Okay.
if no one else has an issue with it, I guess they'll learn to live with it, but it's
Good.
not
Be flexible.
necessarily.
Anything else? All right, is there a action?
I'll move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Move this second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Pay the bills. Moving then to public safety. Chief Parsons.
Yes, thank you. We annually update our crash statistics on our website. The 2024 statistics are there under the general information tab. We did investigate an increase of 46 crashes last year, and we investigated 2 fatal crashes. The other thing I'd like to mention is that on our website, we've also added a faulty equipment notice response form. These are forms that are given to drivers who are stopped oftentimes for equipment violations, such as a headlight out. Normally, they would have to come in, give us this card that would have been checked by an inspection mechanic or otherwise approved by a police officer. They can now submit that on our website online. So that should be able to speed things up for them, and us. So, but that's available now on our website as well. Other than that, I don't have anything. I'll take any questions.
Thanks for those updates. Chief Schaumburger is out on call. We'll mention, I think many of you participated. The fire department had their annual awards dinner on Saturday night, as a matter of fact, at Monaghan Fire Station. And it was well attended and it was a fun event. And it was really nice to see firefighters and their families be able to relax and have fun together. And they're so often out on call and putting themselves hard work and in danger. And so it was fun to relax with them, and it was a very nice event. And I don't have, Tom hasn't given anything further to me. So I think we'll move then to planning and zoning. There's nothing on the agenda. Jen is absent, so that means I don't suspect we have anything to discuss. Okay. Public improvements, any item there? Okay. Sanitary sewer, Mr. Hockenberry.
Good evening, Commissioners. In front of you tonight for consideration is item 5A on the agenda relating to a 3-year renewable contract for maintenance and emergency repairs to the wastewater collection system. The contract was bid on an equipment and labor unit price basis with a markup factor for materials. 4 bids were received electronically through Penn Bid. The apparent low bidder with a total price of $228,090 was received from Shiloh Paving and Excavating Incorporated. In reviewing the bids, GHD noticed that there was a mistake with Shiloh's bid concerning item B1, the bonds and insurances per year. This bid item was a fixed value of $10,000, which all bidders were required to enter. Shiloh accidentally entered $1,000 for that bid item. Correcting the mistake still maintained Shiloh Paving and Excavating as the low bidder with a total bid price of $237,090. I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have regarding this.
I guess the question I would have, Steve, is that doesn't just throw out their bid because they did it wrong, or?
It's a defect that the township has the authority to waive, and in this instance, it was a pretty obvious, not even a clerical issue, it's just they didn't get the number into the block that they needed to.
Yeah, thank you.
Because that was a mandatory item and they had obtained that, so they would be compliant.
Because it's pretty close.
It's very close. I think if it was any other value, I think we'd be having a different conversation, but that was a fixed value that they were to enter $10,000.
And Cody, can you clarify, is this like a fixed amount of money that will go to them, or this is like a menu of services and what it will cost?
So this particular bid item that we're referencing for the bonding and the insurance per year, that is a fixed value that will go to the contractor, the low bidder, if the contract is awarded. All the other line items within the contract are basically a time and material basis. So that just depends on the amount of work that crops up throughout the year, throughout the life of the contract. So those are not fixed or guaranteed values to the contractor.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
And currently that is, who does that now? EK Services?
Rogel has.
Rogel's doing it
Yep,
now.
Rogel out of Harrisburg. We have used EK in the past if Rogel has been unable or unavailable.
For an emergency, then he can.
Correct.
I think we've used Shiloh previously in the township too.
And they won the roadway. They did our
Right.
2022 roadway improvements.
Yeah, I've had good experiences with them too. Any other questions or comments? Proposed action?
I move to authorize the appropriate township representative to issue a notice of award for the maintenance and emergency repairs to wastewater collection system contract to Shiloh Paving and Excavating Incorporated in the amount of $237,090.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you, Cody. Anything else?
Do we need to authorize a notice to proceed
Yeah,
also?
Yes, please.
Motion.
The second portion there.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
I move to authorize the appropriate township representative to issue a notice to proceed for the maintenance and emergency repairs to the wastewater collection system contract of Shiloh Paving and Excavating, Inc. in the amount of $237,090 after the engineer and solicitor certified that bonds and insurances have been furnished in compliance with contract documents.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Now, Cody, anything else? All right, thank you. Moving then to administration. As I noted earlier, we're going to have a big party this year.
Yeah, I submitted to the Board of Commissioners a memo summarizing the meetings we've had with the 175th Anniversary Committee for Upper Allen Township. The committee is made up of some of the commissioners, staff members, and residents. We've been meeting for the past 3 months. We've come up with a slate of great events over the next 9-10 months, ranging from a historical speaking series where we're going to have 3 or 4 speakers coming here talking about topics of history throughout the last 175 years. We're going to have a vintage baseball tournament, and then, of course, our community fall festival in September. So I don't want to give away all the details, but in the next week, look online for those to be released. Also, we'll have a press release coming out with all the events coming up. So we're really excited about this upcoming year for Upper Allen Township.
Great. So stay tuned, right?
Stay tuned. Yep. And then I just have 2 other really good news announcements about parks. So our Sensory Garden, which is at Winding Hill North, has been awarded with the Excellence in Recreation Award by the PA Recreation and Park Society. This is the 2nd year in a row that Upper Allen was recognized. Last year, they were recognized for the certified autism centers for all the parks. The award will be presented on March 18th at the Hershey Lodge. And the award is given for outstanding quality and value of appeal of a park or recreation area. So I wanted to just congratulate Chad, Eddie, and the parks team for their continued amazing work with our park system here in Upper Allen Township. And the last item I have is Macaroni Kid, which is a publishing platform that provides information about local events for families, for things to do. It has nominated Friendship Park and Winding Hill Park as the best playground in the West Shore Harrisburg area. There's a few others that we're competing against. You can vote by February 9th. You can each vote one time per email address. So please check their Facebook page or our Facebook page and get on there and vote before the end of the day Friday for either Friendship Park or Winding Hills Park. We're really excited about that contest as well. Thank you.
What's the name of the platform we should look for?
Macaroni Kid. So you're voting for either Winding Hill or Friendship Park. That's everything. Thank you.
Well, that's good news. And Alexis, please make sure that staff are complimented for that award at the Century Garden. That's really exciting news. And thank you to Park and Rec for supporting them, and we'll give you credit for the award too. I guess then the next item is the nomination for the vacancy on the Board of Commissioners. I'd like to mention that We did interview all 13 candidates that applied. Initially, there were 15, 2 withdrew during the process. So I want to thank the candidates or the applicants for coming in and taking the time to meet with us. I thought it was it was tiring, but kind of interesting, and it was enjoyable. And I think we learned, I certainly learned some things and some new ideas or suggestions. And I hope that I want to compliment all of the individuals who took the time to actually come and express interest. And I'd like to make a motion that we have 13 new commissioners, but I guess that's kind of against township code, so we can't do that. But I am serious that I think there are, after we appoint someone, there are 12 individuals in our township that we really should be encouraging to get on advisory boards and volunteer boards and get involved in the township, because they were good folk.
Or in 1 month, I believe they can start
Campaigning.
That's to run, correct.
That's true too. We should have a bigger primary this year, hopefully. So thank you, Rick, for that. I said to the public earlier that we wouldn't be taking public comment during the interview process because that was assigned for the interviewing process. But I did want to give an opportunity for anyone in the public that wishes to address the board in terms of the vacancy, the process, the candidates, or anything you had in line. So if there's anyone in the audience that wishes to address the board, please come forward or indicate so. Okay. I'm going to suggest to my colleagues that we begin the process by each of us suggesting or nominating one candidate. And then we would have a poll and see where that is. And then we can discuss and move forward with acting on those candidates. So if someone wants to start, you may, or I can.
I'm amenable to that. I just had kind of a comment I wanted to make in general about how I looked at the candidates. I don't know.
Sure.
Else.
You.
So it's kind of on the idea of developing a rubric that could apply to everybody. But just in my own experience, I was looking the length of time the person lived in the township was important to me. Name reputation in the community. So people will know we're not necessarily being political with this. Most of the candidates are Republican, just by virtue of looking at the voter list. I was looking someone that we could all get along with, someone with established connections in the community and knows, quite a few people in the community. Certainly experience. Was a wide variety of experience, both, business, academically, construction, education, equipment, farm, legal, municipal, nonprofit, trails. I mean, there was really a wide range. It was nice to see. Of course, it's nice to see in general the number of applicants we got. And one thing that's dear to my heart in a way, and maybe this is for Sharon's Shipman's benefit if she's watching, I've been concerned, and we campaigned on, the impact of development on the tax rates, tax millage. Does development really pay for itself or not? I feel like we often get the short end of the stick.
When you say I didn't campaign on that, you said we.
Myself and Phil were attuned to that as a campaign issue on our literature. And just by way of comparison, because I look at the state statistics, I think Sharon may be looking at some of this information as tax collector. But in the last 2005, Upper Allen's millage was 0.25. 2025, it's 2.75. It's, a near tenfold increase, but obviously starting at a very low basis. And then looking at the school district was 12.83 in 2005. Now it's 16.31. And, but if you look at like some of the neighboring municipalities, you'll see that Monroe Township was at 0.20 in 2005, and it's now at 0.66. You know, in their case, that would be a triple or whatever, but still
Bigger increase.
very
percentage.
modest in relation to where we have ended up. And then they are part of a bigger school district, which I'm also very attuned to. Obviously, they're part of Cumberland Valley. So the Cumberland Valley millage was 9.55 in 2005. It's 11.94 in 2025. And then you can I also look at Silver Spring Township, because they have this active farmland preservation program. But their millage in 2005 was 0.58 mils. It's now 1.30 mils. Same numbers of millage rate for Cumberland Valley, 9.55 in 2005, 11.94 in 2025. So being aware of, you know, the tax burden we're placing on people is important to me. And then the impact on the school district, which I think you've heard me raise that time I've been on the board, but Mechanicsburg Area School District now has the distinction of having the highest debt load of any school district in Cumberland County. We have a higher debt load than Cumberland Valley. June 30th, 2023 financial statement shows Mechanicsburg Area, school district debt. I count, the bonds at 150 million versus Cumberland Valley at 146 million. So that's a statistic that really gets my attention. But anyway, so much for that part of it. I'm also interested in people that are attuned to historic preservation. I've read any number of studies about how the historic properties add value to the community, especially those on the National Register. I'm interested in those that are aware of farmland preservation, and particularly those that may be aware of the Silver Spring program, where they've now preserved or are on track to preserve nearly 1,500 acres of farmland. Concerned or looking for conflict resolution skills. And I looked at females for that on a board because I think they are really good at working with men and families and so forth. And so I would like to see a female presence continue on the board. I'm looking at communication skills. Many of the candidates demonstrated that, very well. Looking at time available. We do have some morning meetings, and I think the one that really sticks in my mind that people may want to attend would be the public improvement ones, where the engineer often details the projects we're going to be talking about. So people that have kind of full-time jobs or commitment, that may be hard. So anyway, those are my.
Yeah. I just I don't want anyone to be dissuaded from thinking that they can't serve because of morning meetings or something like that, because the way we operate is there's various advisory committees. We have 2 commissioners assigned to each of those, like Public Improvement, Stormwater Authority, Public Safety Administration, Sewer, et cetera, so that if I try to take into consideration a person's schedule. So if they can't meet a committee or an advisory group when they normally meet, they can serve in something else. So that's not a prerequisite. I just want to add
I was just suggesting that's a good one to, get a leg up on some of the issues.
Yeah. So
anyway, those are the positive attributes. I don't want to get into any negative attributes because.
Okay. So having said that, do you have a nomination?
I'll defer to Phil first. He's ready to, or.
Okay, sure.
All right, we'll go down the line. Go ahead.
Sure. First of all, I was very impressed with the qualifications of all the applicants. One of the things that's important to me is that I believe that farming is still very much an important part of our community and deserves to be represented on this board. To that extent, I was impressed. There were 2 farmers that put their hats in the ring. And this is, I don't have, I would say that, well, let's start with Jim Paulus. I was very impressed by the extent of his agricultural operations, employing over 60 people. And I think, preserving a portion of the agricultural township, I think is important. And to that extent, I would like to make a motion to nominate Jim Paulus.
Or just give the nomination, then we'll.
Yep.
We don't need a second in parliamentary procedure for nominations. We don't need that. So I'll take your suggestion as a motion. So Jim Paulus, did you say?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Again, all good applicants and I'm really thrilled with the amount. I'd like to suggest Jim Cochran. I think that he has served the township previously as a commissioner as well as on some of the other volunteer boards. He can hit the ground running because of the experience and that amount of service to the township. I also think that he ran in the last general election and was unfortunately missed the mark by one candidate, but he certainly has shown his interest in elected office, et cetera. So for the short term of Ginny's vacancy, I'd nominate Jim Cochran.
And again, I'll echo that all 13 candidates definitely should consider running again this upcoming, if they're not selected tonight. One of the things I was looking at were experience in the township. And there was 4 candidates who were either were or on a board now. That was Jim Cochran, Karen Overly Smith, Jeff Williams, or Eric Clancy. So I further went down things that I thought were important were Park and Rec. So I'm nominating Jeff Williams.
Okay, thank you. Eric?
I would mention that Jim Paulus and Barry Strock are also on the ASA committee. It meets infrequently, but they are committee members themselves. I would nominate Barry Strock.
Okay. So hearing those 4 nominations, I will declare nominations closed. And so I'm going to suggest that we vote on those 4 individuals. And I suspect, I see no reason we can vote on them in the order they were suggested. So
Why are we saying their nominations are closed? I mean, closed in terms of these 4 maybe, but if there's no decision, would we not consider other people? I was assuming we would.
I was assuming we wouldn't, because with the process, if we each give our top candidate, then we would vote on those. And if we're unable to make a decision tonight, then as I understand the code, then it goes to vacancy board. Is that correct?
That's not how I understand it.
Well,
We have 13 candidates. There's could be, if we're deadlocked, why would we limit ourselves to 4?
well, then you end up going further down the list and no one gets their top candidate.
If I may, if we haven't reached a decision at the end of the 4, I mean, Mr. Fairchild or anyone else could make a motion to reopen the nominations.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I would just like to note that I wouldn't say that Mr. Paulus is my top candidate. I have a number of people who I consider to be equal. I just thought that because of the issues I stated with regards to the preference to having a farmer on the board, I decided to go with him first. So I don't want anybody to think he was my number 1, because I think he's equal to quite a few people that I've reviewed here.
Okay. All right. In order then, all in favor of appointing Jim Paulus, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? No.
No.
2-2. Jim Cochran? All in favor of his candidacy, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no?
No.
2-2. Jeff Williams? All in favor of his candidacy, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no?
No.
No. So I guess I would suggest we reopen.
Excuse me, we're
Yeah,
not
Barry-
finished
Barry
yet.
had struck.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just let me run
Yeah,
the meeting.
I understand.
Then all in favor of Barry Schrock, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, or, I'm sorry. Let me do. We're voting on Barry. Restate it. All in favor of Barry Schrock, say aye.
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 Opposed, no?
No.
Motion failed, or 2-2. Okay, so we are not, we are in a deadlock in terms of the top four candidates. So we can do, we could entertain a motion to continue, or we could, if we don't reach a consensus in the next 2 days, it goes automatically to vacancy board, correct?
I move to
Oh,
continue.
wait, just wait, is that correct? Steve, okay, I'm looking to you.
Yes, or under the code, you could advance it to the vacancy board by vote tonight if
Oh,
you chose
okay.
to do so.
Okay, fine. So we need not wait the 2 days. Fine. I'm sorry, go ahead, Eric.
No, I would just like to have another round of people nominated if you wish, or at least, Bill and I certainly have more names that we're interested in.
Okay, so we can put that to a vote. All in favor of opening nominations for second round, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no?
No.
So I guess, as I interpret that, we don't go to the second round.
No, as I interpret that as highly political and a disservice to the community, a disservice to the people sitting in front of you, that you rely on just political willpower versus objective determination of the fine candidates that are mostly sitting in front of you. And I find it very offensive. Tried to work with you for over a year now and constantly undermining the partisanship and everything, misstating facts, straw man arguments, just raw, good old boy politics, which is what was on the West Shore School Board when I was there. And I thought we were better than that. And if you can sit here with a straight face and say only 4 people, and we have a solicitor in this whole setup of this political machine that has developed in Upper Allen Township, pro-development over 20 years, that we can only limit ourselves to 4 people, that's outrageous and unacceptable.
Well, I'm sorry you feel that way. I explained, or I announced the process when we started, and that's.
No, you
I checked-
coordinated a manipulated process in conjunction with the solicitor or whatever you guys have up your sleeve to push it toward the vacancy board. And I like Sharon Shipman too, but I think that's an unfair burden on her. And we have plenty of other applicants to consider tonight versus embarrassing ourselves as a township.
Well, the only thing I heard tonight that was, I mean, you said that you and Phil had other candidates, so obviously you two had been talking. That's the only thing I've heard.
Yeah, I think we're allowed to talk, just like I'm sure you've been talking with Ken and
I specifically
who
didn't.
else?
I specifically have not
So-
spoken to anybody.
So I reject the allegation that there's something disingenuous about the process and/or that I was manipulating that, but I don't suspect.
so I nominate Tony Foschi. You want a second, Phil?
Second.
It's, okay, so it's been moved in second. But now what do you want to do?
You can say yes or no. I mean, I assume your answer is no. You didn't even want to consider him. Can we have a vote on Tony Foschi?
All in favor of Tony
Mr.
Fosh? Yeah.
The motion to reopen the nominations had failed, so there really is no nomination to be made at this
I'm
point.
sorry. Right.
Well, I just made it anyway.
Well,
I don't have to listen to a solicitor, who has his thumb on the scale. That's unacceptable.
you're right. By part of my procedure, I will not accept that nomination because we did vote to close nominations. You're right. Thank you.
No, you did a procedural maneuver and something not in the public interest. I nominate Shannon Pennington.
Second.
Again, I'm not going to accept that because as the solicitor advised, we closed nominations. And unless he advises otherwise, I won't reopen those.
The solicitor wants to be a political player. That's his business.
Okay.
I nominate Jim Damskroder.
Second.
Hearing none from our Illustrious colleagues, I assume that's a no. I nominate Kenneth Mark.
Second.
Hearing nothing from our small-minded political friends, I nominate Karen Smith.
Second.
Hearing nothing from our political friends, I am out of this meeting, I believe, because there's no point talking to unethical, unprincipled people with conflicts of interest and everything else. So I will do better, I think, sitting as a member of the public, watching you esteemed colleagues.
Are you resigning? No.
I'm changing my perspective.
Okay. Anything else for administration?
Yeah, just one closing comment with regards to this. I would encourage Sharon to consider all of the applicants and also not only just on their qualifications, but also on the chemistry that this board will have going forward. I think for the most part, I've been actually quite pleased with the chemistry and the support that I've seen and been given with the current board, despite our differences. And I think that I would encourage Sharon, I'm sorry, to keep the chemistry of this board and the character of the camaraderie in mind when going through each and every one of these candidates.
Okay, thanks for that. That would be my hope as well, because we are elected to serve the public and the interests of the Tool Township, and so I certainly have appreciated your input, Phil, and I think that it's all of our desire, hopefully, to try to continue working positively for the township. If there's nothing else for administration, is there anything else for Park and Rec? Or you've reported everything there? Okay. So this is our update. Tax collection? Capital COG, no report at this point, and I don't imagine MAB met.
No,
Okay.
but we did have a Park and Rec meeting last week.
Oh, okay.
You
Do you want to
sped by
report on
that. We did go over things that are going on at Grantham, the dredging of the pond, and the pipes could be replaced this year, and maybe the trails could be done the following year.
Okay.
Briefly along those lines, I did get an email from someone at Troop 190. Wanted to know if there was anything they should be aware of with regards to activity in and around the lodge, if there's anything they could do to accommodate those activities going forward, but I can talk with staff at a later date with regards to specifics.
There was also discussion that the soils that are being dredged out of there, we got to make sure that I think Phil might even want to make the comment that we got to make sure that they're tested to make sure there's no bad things in them before we spread them on public lands.
Oh, so, that's a good idea. I think it's great to mention the troop too. Many of you might have known a longtime resident of Grantham, Homer Crable, who I guess in later years lived over at Messiah Lifeways, who died recently. And I was interested, Phil, to see in his obituary that he was one of the founders of Troop 190. So I had no idea that he contributed to scouting. So that was helpful. MAB, nothing there. State Association, I don't have anything. We will look at the revised resource officer agreement with Mechanicsburg School District. That's just been received by the chief and by our solicitor. And so I think we'll probably look at that at our next meeting and we can review that there. Any public comment?
I have.
Sure, come on up, please. Oh, you even remember that. Give us your name and address, please.
Sharon Howard, 2479 Glime Drive. I just want to understand how this goes forward now. Do the remaining discussions around filling the vacancy for commissioner, do they happen in the public? Are they televised? since it wasn't resolved this evening.
I don't know they'll be televised, but it will be a public meeting and that meeting will be announced with date and time. I think we were hoping to have the person seated at the next meeting, so I think we will check with Ms. Shipman and hopefully we can find a time next week when we can advertise and announce that meeting. That would
Okay.
be my desire.
I don't envy you. I did watch all of the interviews. They were very impressive. And I don't envy you going through the selection process. So I do hope that you're able to come to a consensus, and whoever you pick, we're not going to lose. So,
Thank you.
yep, thank you.
Anyone else? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
It moved in second. I guess all in favor, aye.
Aye.
We will see you next meeting.